We welcome you to another edition of Being Well Informed. My name is Claudia Barber, and I am the host of this podcast and television program where we hope we can provide you with additional information about trending topics. And of course, today's program is no exception. I have as my guest on this very fine afternoon attorney Karren Pope-Onwukwe. And I am so glad to have you here talk about growing trends in Alzheimer's and beginning the Alzheimer's journey. Thank you so much for coming with us today and appearing on our program, attorney Karren Pope-Onwukwe. Did I get that
Correct.
correct?
That's correct.
Welcome, welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm very happy to be here.
Well, I am too, because I have been trying very hard to get you on our program. I know you are a very busy speaker because I've seen you on American Bar Association webinars. And the one that caught my attention the most was the webinar on beginning the Alzheimer's journey. I was quite impressed by what I heard and what I learned from how things have changed. But tell us a little bit about yourself and your practice. We'll start there.
Okay. Well, my name is, as you said, is Karren Pope-Onwukwe. I'm an elder law and disability rights attorney. My practice centers around helping people plan for aging, disability, and wealth transfer. I started my practice in 2000. Went out on my own, and this is what I've been doing since then. I'm currently the vice chair of the Senior Lawyers Division of the American Bar Association, and I am the co-chair of the Elder Affairs Committee of the Civil Rights and Social Justice section of the ABA, American Bar Association, and I'm co-chair of the Disability Rights Committee of the American Bar Association Civil Rights and Social Justice Committee. Uh,
Now,
so,
Mhm.
so most of my practice deals with elder law issues, basically.
So when you say elder law issues, I was just reading an article on elder abuse and protective factors and individual risk factors. So what part of your practice, I mean, what does that involve?
Well, basically, with if you are dealing with elder abuse, um, what I do is I would, if it's financial exploitation, I do seminars and talk to people about all the different types of cons and scams and things that are out there. But what we normally do is when we have instances of financial exploitation, we turn that over to either your local state's attorney's office.
Mhm.
Most state's attorney's offices have a unit that deals with it, or you, if it's a something that's going from state to state, the Federal Trade Commission
Mhm.
um, has a. In fact, when I send out emails, I have a link to their fraud um, website so that people can report fraud. It is such a huge issue, and people, seniors, older people are praised because for financial exploitation because they have liquidity. Most of them have a they either 401k or retirement pension or whatever, and they have money,
Mhm.
um, uh, and people prey on them because of that. Plus, they are trusting of people. Now, if you're dealing with physical exploitation, which is another part of what elder abuse deals with, not just the financial part, but the physical, then what I tell people typically, what you need to do if you suspect that someone is being abused physically or even financially, you can call your local adult protective services office. They have a 24-hour number that you can call, and you can report it anonymously, so that, some people are concerned because they don't want to get involved, but they see, if you see it's the old saying, if you see something, say something. And that's what you have to start doing when it comes to elder abuse, whether it's physical or whether it's financial. uh, go ahead.
Sometimes people can make welfare checks or ask for welfare checks from the police.
Mhm. You can
And
do that.
Mhm,
That's another way to get something started. In fact, a lot of times, that's how people who usually what happens with those is someone who's doing self neglect.
mhm.
For example, if someone is living at home, they're not taking care of themselves, they're not coming out, or what, and so and their neighbors may get concerned. I remember one time there was a gentleman, and his house, he had a swimming pool, really nice community, but his grass had gotten so tall, his neighbors were concerned. So they called the police, and the police went for a welfare check. He had dementia and had was living in this house with his dog, had not come out, was ordering food, um, and had been living like that for months.
Mhm.
Uh, so sometimes people are going to like self neglect, and that is another way to help, is to call the local police. The police will come, and then when they do the welfare check, then they will get in contact with adult protective services, and all the other systems will come into play.
What type of signs do you see at the early stages of dementia?
Well, the early stages of dementia. Well, first, let me say this about dementia. People have to understand that everyone, dementia is not little forgetfulness, and dementia is not something that happens to everyone as they age. Dementia is a name for a wide area of diseases. One of the one of the best known ones is Alzheimer's disease. But it is what happens is it affects you mentally, um, and physiologically. So if you have someone, and for example, sometimes I'll call my son or my granddaughter or some, and I call a whole bunch of names before I get to their name, and sometimes I don't even get to their name. That's not necessarily a sign of dementia. When you have signs of dementia, you have things that start occurring that the person does not know. If they go into the kitchen, they're not clear on what the things in the kitchen are for.
Mm,
Okay, or if they are uh, driving or walking and they become so confused they don't know where they are or how to get back to where they started from.
so they don't know how to get home necessarily.
May not know how to get home, or they may start looking at things and not even knowing what things are. They may. I remember I had a client one time, and he was so distressed because his father used to um, be a basketball player, and he coached basketball, and he couldn't even, if he saw a basketball, he didn't know what it was. He couldn't think of a word to describe it. So those are the kinds of things that it's a much more serious issue than simple forgetfulness. Um, when you're talking about the uh, the early signs of Alzheimer's, um, and many times people will. I tell people, if you have an older person, and now because of the way we live, your mom or your dad or your aunt or your uncle or your brother or your sister may not live around you. Call them.
Mhm.
Call them and talk with them so that you can see, because the signs can creep up on you. And if
Mm.
you're talking to them and they don't recall that you called last Sunday and you talked about um, Joe Blow from Kokomo, then you may start to worry about them. Uh, you know, there are people who can talk with you for a few minutes and everything sounds okay. But if you start pressing them and asking them, what'd you have for breakfast? What'd you have for lunch? Where did you go? And they can't answer you, they can't express what's going on in their lives, you may start to worry about what's going on. Many times we have people who they stop opening their mail, their
Mm.
bills start accumulating. So, and this can happen over a period of time.
Okay. But the stop opening the mail, not paying your bills, letting your mortgage go into foreclosure,
Mhm.
that suggests that, there needs to be intervention
Mhm.
or
Yes.
guardianship.
Well, I don't know. Guardianship is a really strong. Um, we call it. It's the most restrictive form of intervention.
Mhm.
I tell people the first thing you want to do while you're hale and hearty and got all your faculties together, you need to prepare uh, two documents. One is an advance medical directive.
Mhm.
The other is a general durable power of attorney.
Okay.
Now, the advance medical directive is a document that says if I get to a point where I cannot give a doctor um, informed consent, then I want to name my, I always say either my sister or my brother to be the people who the doctor could talk to. I tell people you want to have more than one person on the document because if something happens to my sister, I want someone that can step into my sister's shoes. And that would,
Okay.
because many times people get their documents done, they have one person. What if that person dies?
Right.
Then you don't have anyone that can help you. So that with an advanced medical directive, you have someone that can talk to a doctor. Then the other document that you need is the general durable power of attorney, and that's for finances.
Mhm.
I tell people that song, money, 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 money. It is really hard to explain to people that even if you're married, if your husband or your wife has an account and you're not on it, or they have a credit card and you're not on it, or they have a car and the car is in their name and the insurance is in their name, you don't have any legal authority to handle those things if you don't have a general durable power of attorney. Just because you're
Understood.
the wife, the husband, the father, the brother, the sister, that does not give you legal authority. If a person is over the age of 18, they are an adult under the law, and you would need a general durable power of attorney to help them with their financial situation.
Now, as people age, some people decide to age in place, and then there are people that begin the Alzheimer's journey and it ends up taking them to a long-term care facility.
Mhm.
How does your work kind of change in that direction?
Well, many times I tell people there's a Bible story about Lazarus,
Mhm.
and he has two sisters, Mary and Martha,
Right.
and he gets sick, and his sisters they cry and they're trying to get help for him. And I tell people, usually Mary and Martha are the people that come to my office. People come to my office when someone has been diagnosed with either Alzheimer's or ALS, or they may have been diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. all kinds of diseases. Um, Sometimes people come to my office when their loved one is in the hospital and the hospital has said they can't go back home by themselves. We're going to send them to a rehab center. Um, and the people want to know what can they do. Sometimes people come to me when their loved one is in a nursing home and the nursing home has said, uh, we've been informed by your insurance company that they're no longer going to pay for your cost of care.
Mm.
And what happens in these situations, um, I tell people you have to plan for three things. You have to plan that for um, if you have a catastrophic event and you completely come back from it, if
Mhm.
you have a catastrophic event and you're going to be um, uh, disabled for a period of time, or if you have a catastrophic event that you're not going to come back from. And there are different kinds of things that you can do in the event that you are in a situation where you have a catastrophic event that you're going to recover from. If you've got an advanced medical directive and a general durable power of attorney, people can help you take care of paying your rent or paying your mortgage or helping you to navigate the hospital and the rehab system and things of that nature. If you have a catastrophic event where you are not going to recover and you get to the point where what people have to understand is that insurance, health insurance, and Medicare, they are for that's health insurance. So if you get sick and you go in the hospital and you're recuperating, your health insurance and Medicare, they will pay for you to get uh, to go to physical therapy, to get all this rehab. And even when you come home for a period of time, Medicare and your insurance will pay for you to continue to go to physical therapy. But if you are in a situation where you need um, 24-hour skilled nursing care, your health insurance and Medicare does not pay for that. They were not set up for that. That's when you have to look at what we call medical assistance long-term care.
Mm.
And medical assistance long-term care is for people, if you don't have long-term care insurance, medical assistance long-term care is set up to help people pay for their cost of care. Now, the way the program works, you have to um, be not be able to pay. So they look at your income. Your income has to be less than the amount that you have to pay for a nursing home. Almost everyone's income is going to be less than the amount you'd have to pay for the average cost of nursing home is around $13,000, $10,000 to $13,000. Um,
Per
so
month.
per month. So if you don't have that kind of money, your income would make you eligible. Then they look at your resources. What resources do you have available? Under the medical assistance long term care, you can have $2,500 worth of resources. I tell people just say $2,000. Don't try to do the 2,500. Just say the most you can have is $2,000. Um, and so then that's when planning comes in. There are lots of different things that you can do, but there are the ways to shelter some of your assets. I tell people there's an urban myth out there about your house. You can have a house, you can have a car. They will not make you not eligible for medical assistance long-term care.
Okay, that's
People
good to
think
know.
that they have to, yeah, they think I got to sell my house. No, you don't. Your house is exempt. Your car is exempt. What happens is that what you have to look at are what are the other resources that you have available to you, and that's the key word. If it's available to you, because all of the it's a really complex system, the medical assistance long term care. But many times I see people they wait so long because they're so afraid. You when you The best time to talk about this and to talk to an elder law attorney is before you're sick, before you're in a crisis situation, and then you can plan how to structure your life and your finances, so that in the event you ever find yourself in need of medical assistance long-term care, you would be able to qualify. And in Maryland, people are always asking me, they want to do this, that, or the other. There are a lot of options, but it depends on your situation. There are different rules if you're single. There are different rules if it's a husband and wife. There are rules to make sure that if there's a husband and wife, if one spouse goes into the nursing home, the government's not trying to impoverish the spouse that's staying at home. So there
Okay.
are rules to help that person. But people get fearful. And I tell people, you can't let fear uh, make you not do things. You have to get the information and find out what you need to do so that you will be prepared no matter what happens as you travel down this road we call life.
Well, there's this other, I guess, scare factor of the 5-year look back period. What is that about?
Well, this is another reason why I tell people you need to do planning. When you go into If you go into a nursing home, the first day you go into a nursing home, it's the if you at any point later on have to apply for medical assistance long-term care, that day is what we call the snapshot. The medical assistance long-term care program looks at all the assets that you had on that date. Uh, and then they can go back 5 years from that to from the date that you applied for medical assistance, um, to see if you've transferred assets for less than fair market value. um, so it's important that you understand the rules for transfer, what you can transfer, the things that you can spend money on that won't trigger a penalty. A penalty is triggered if you give something away or you sell something for less than fair market value. You will trigger a penalty, and the penalty is about $8,000, because that's about how much the state of Maryland will pay a nursing home on your behalf. And what they do is they say, well, if let's say you gave away $10,000, then they would divide that $10,000 by 8,000 something dollars, and they would say you're not eligible for medical assistance long-term care for 1 month and X amount of days. Even if even if all your other paperwork you were financially eligible. If that $10,000 was the only money that was keeping you from being qualified and you just gave it away willy-nilly, you would have to have a penalty would be imposed on you.
Are medical trusts or Medicaid trusts becoming popular now?
Uh, there's there's not really what we're talking about are Medicaid compliant trust. You have to be very careful. There are very few companies that know how to structure a correct Medicaid compliant annuity. A Medicaid compliant annuity is a very specific document, and it takes a lot of planning. Um, the the document has to be actuarially sound, which means that it has to use the Social Security actuarial tables to determine how long or how long you're going to live, whoever the life of the person is that the annuity is based on. Um, and it has to pay equal payments every month. It can't have a balloon. It's not like like the you can go to an insurance company and they're going to sell. They have a lot of annuity products, but a Medicaid compliant annuity is a very specific product, and it has to have very specific language. And depending on when you do that annuity, uh, that will determine whether or not the state that provides you uh, care pays for your cost of care, if they are going to be reimbursed, or whether or not you can determine who's going to be reimbursed. There are decisions you have to make. If it's a husband and wife, are you going to if you're going to do a Medicaid compliant annuity, is it going to be on the life of the is the owner going to be the spouse, or is it going to be the institutionalized spouse? A lot of consideration, and you can't. It's not fly by night kind of planning. You got to sit down. I tell people you got to run the numbers. You have to. Many people don't even know. I talk to people, they don't even know the face value of their life insurance policy. They don't know the company. You have to know all of that kind of stuff, because all of these numbers you have to factor in when you're figuring out what you're going to do and how you're going to plan for to shelter assets for medical assistance long term care planning.
Let me pivot a little bit also into the area of home health care needs,
Mhm.
because before people make that decision to go to a long-term care facility, I would imagine there's a lot of fighting and holding on, and I'm not going to go to that long-term care facility. And so I guess, they would try to use to the max the home healthcare options, wouldn't you think?
Well, that's most people, when they do surveys, they find that most people want to age at home.
Mhm,
That's where they want to stay.
mhm.
And they only leave when they have no other choice.
Right.
Uh, Now, when you talk about home health, and another thing I want to mention, this home health care, that is one of the largest growing fields. We need uh, places that will provide home health care aides, CNAs, certified nursing assistants, um, caretakers that can come into the home and that are certified and know what they're doing. Um, you can uh, provide for your care. Sometimes if you have a family member that wants to do it, but I always tell people you need to have a contract with that family member, because it's no joke taking care of someone, and one person cannot take care of someone for 24 hours in a day. Uh,
You can say that again.
I always remind people of Michael Jackson. Remember that doctor was going to try and sit up all night with him every night and monitor him? You can't do that. No one can do that every day. So what you have to do is you have to be able to say, I'm not going to be able to do this. I'm going to need relief. And a lot of times I've got someone delivering something. A lot of times they have your county will have respite services available. So
Mhm.
if you're a caregiver, you can get respite care. They can give you time, weekends or vacation time, so that you don't have to always be on duty. It's very hard. It's very difficult. And then another thing, and I talk to husbands and wives about this, if you have a person and they're an adult and they have to take a bath, they have to use the bathroom, you may not physically be able to handle that.
Right.
That can be dangerous for that person and for you,
Or the
uh,
surviving spouse, or the other spouse.
or the
Yes,
children.
or the children.
And then the other thing, I have some folks that the mother had Alzheimer's. Her daughter had come up from to Maryland from Texas to take care of her mom, and she was staying at the house. And this woman had a family and children back in Texas. And the one day the brother came by the house, and the sister was in the chair and had a heart attack.
Mm.
because it can be stressful to be a caretaker, especially if you're a caretaker for your mother or your father or your brother, your sister, your uncle. It can be stressful. So
Right.
you cannot do it by yourself. It's basically now there are organizations like Alzheimer's Association, and every locality has a chapter. You can get they have support groups. You can reach out to support groups and learn how to do that. You do not have to do it by yourself. And I tell people, I don't, I'm a church going woman. Some people think that the people at church will talk about them if they put their loved one in a nursing home or whatever. No one knows what's going on in your house except for you. I mean, I've been to people's homes where the person is terrorized because the person who has Alzheimer's may become a violent person. They may
Mm.
become a person who curses, and you don't have to live like that. You don't have to live like that.
Wow. You have really shed so much light into the topic, and I feel like we've only touched a little tiny piece of the things that we must navigate when you're beginning the Alzheimer's journey. Uh, Attorney Karren Pope-Onwukwe, thank you so much for participating on our program today. You have really been helpful, and I thank you again, and looking forward to inviting you back again at another time where you can share more with us.
No problem. Thank you. I enjoyed coming on.
Thank you.
Bye.